Welcome to the. Well, look, Jenny's got a cute little visitor. Okay, what's his name? Is it Winston? Did I remember?
Winston. This is our new puppy, Winston. He's our special guest today.
Aw, so cute.
But we also have another guest too. It's not just Winston.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. This is the Isn't It Romantic Book Club. We're going to be discussing Lori Foster's. Oh my God, I just blanked on the title. What's the title?
Let me be the one.
Let me be the one. Let me be the one. Yes. And we all enjoyed it. And before Lori even got on here, we all had like a little mini group discussion about how much we really enjoyed the book, even before you guys came in here and before Lori got here. So we really loved this book.
Fantastic.
Yes. So guys, I'm Abbie Roads. I write dark romantic thrillers. I tell people think of my books like an episode of Criminal Minds Meets a Love Story with a little bit of a twist. I've got a little stack here, Dangerous Dreams and Broken Dreams and Shattered Dreams and Defying Evil. And I have one more, but I don't have a copy of it. And that's Capturing Fate. So that's me.
Hi, everybody. I didn't mean to hijack the beginning. I just wanted to share this. I just posted
He's
on Facebook.
so cute.
He follows me. Our little puppy Winston, who has doubled in size in the last
not so little
weeks. Yeah, he's not so little anymore, but he just came up to sit next to me, so I thought he would get to come on. So if you don't know me, I'm Jennie Marts. I write small town stories with humor and heart, and occasionally a dead body. So I write a lot of cowboys. I write hockey playing cowboys. I write horse rescues. I write cozy mysteries. I am kind of excited today because in my Lassiter Ranch Cowboy series, I just announced that these two books are up for their finalists in the Holt Medallion. So I
just saw that
posting about Overdue for a Cowboy and Second Chance with the Cowboy. And that's me. I'm in Colorado and I have a new puppy. So that's my most exciting news.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Muñoz Stewart. I write romantic suspense for The Strong of Heart. My most recent series, the Bad Legacy series, Broken Promises, Fatal Promises. The third one will be out later this year, Hard Promises. I also have my Spy Makers Guild series, and I have all except the Restless Grace, but if you're going to RAGT, hopefully you'll find a copy there because there will be many.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sharon Wray. I also write romantic suspense. I've got a bunch of books here. I think like Sexy Green Berets and like Dan Brown kind of mysteries. Lighting's terrible. But and the fourth one is coming out soon called The Promise at Midnight, and I hope to have a cover for that soon. Anyway, we are here today to talk with Lori and her wonderful book, Let Me Be the One. Lori Foster is a New York Times, USA Today, and Publishers Weekly bestselling author. She's received the Romantic Times Career Achievement Award for series, romantic fantasy, and for contemporary romance. She's also won Amazon's top-selling romance title for Too Much Temptation, a bunch of other awards, you name it. New York Times, Barnes & Noble. She's been on all the lists. She's also been featured as a clue in the New York Times crossword puzzle and the USA Today Quick Cross Puzzle. She also hosts the annual reader and author get together, which you all are going to, and I'm not going to be there. I'm so sad. Which facilitates,
it's so
sad. Facilitates interaction between readers, authors, and industry professionals, while also donating all the proceeds from the raffles to local charities. And you can find more about Lori's books at her website, lorifoster.com. And I'm just so excited to talk about Let Me Be the One. I've read almost all of Lori's books over the years, and I think this is one of my favorites. So thrilled to talk to her about it.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. I'm sorry, Lori. I was actually trying to make sure that we were appearing in the group, and I should have just let someone else handle that so I didn't mess up so bad. Nice to see you.
Good to see you guys again, too. Hi.
And Lori, if I'm
having you on.
I'm checking the groups, so I'm not like sending texts to random people.
I wouldn't have noticed anyway. Text away. Go ahead.
Any animals with you today, Lori? Are you going to compete with Jenny? You got a dog you're going to march in, or?
I don't have a dog right now. I wish I'm a dog person more than a cat person, but I have cats, and we have the one feral. He's not really feral anymore. He's decided he's a house cat. Sleeping in my bed. and Happy Cat's sleeping here somewhere. You can tell by my hair, it's a very humid, kind of day. And so the cats are in. A lot of times they like to go out.
It's been really great to hear.
Behind me. See Penny?
Oh, I see Penny.
She's my son's rescue. He's at veterinary school, so of course he can't take care of any animals.
Right. So mom gets to.
Yes, I get Penny.
So Lori, how did you come up with the beginning of this book? Because I absolutely enjoyed full-heartedly the chainsaw scene.
Oh, I love the
It was so much
scene
fun.
too.
Thank you. I don't know how any of that happens. It just sort of happens. I had wanted to write Remy's story, who was in my past series. And my publisher said, let's do something different instead, which broke my heart. But I said, okay, because I'm a game player. And that story just kind of came to mind. So I just sat down and started writing, and the chainsaw was there and Tanner was there and things just happened. And Glory, who was a secondary character, changed on me more than Callie and Tanner did, who are the main characters. So sometimes I think I have things sort of worked out in my head, and then other things happen. I didn't expect Glory to be so freaked out by everything, but she was. She was really not thrilled to be in dark woods and hear a chainsaw. So maybe it's my love of horror movies. I don't know, because I would think that would be hilarious. Ages ago, we were in Gatlinburg, and there was a hamburger sign, and we were following that hamburger sign, and it kept leading us further and further and further into the woods. And my husband kept saying, well, it has to be close now. And a mile later, there's another little, best hamburgers ever. And I'm like, I have Texas Chainsaw Massacre music playing in my head. We need to turn this around and go somewhere else. So maybe it's just
no hamburger is worth that. Yeah.
No, not when you start getting back in the woods and there's, pokeweed growing everywhere and you don't see too many houses. I'm like, nah, I don't want to eat back here. Let's go. So
I'm the same way. I always think everyone is out to kill me.
Yes, you write that. That's why.
I know. My son he used to work at this huge office building, and he would work overnight, and he would have to go to the bathroom like way across the building. And I was like, aren't you so scared that like someone's going to attack you or kill you? And he's like, Mom, who wants to kill me? Like,
you never know. Psycho.
Random killers. They're out there.
It's always the one you least expect that wants to kill you. So
exactly. At Hewlett Packard in the middle of the night. You never know.
And then so tell me, how afraid of snakes are you? Because
oh my gosh,
there's a lot of snake fear in this book.
I'm not all afraid of snakes, but some of my readers the cats will catch a snake every so often and bring it to the house. Ooh. If it's a small snake, I'll rescue it. If it's a bigger snake, I make my husband rescue it. I don't really want to mess with the bigger snakes. But the cats, we had one cat was laying on a snake. And we were like, what is he doing? He's laying so funny. And we went to move him, and here he had a poor little snake stuck underneath him. Oh, so wow. I shared photos of Rumbles laying on a snake. And the readers on my Facebook page were like, I'd have died. And, they were all so fearful of snakes. So I asked them when I was writing this, when these snakes kept showing up, and I thought, because the heroine is very, very afraid of snakes. And I kept thinking, is this going to freak readers out where they won't want to read it? So I asked them, and they were like, no, we're okay if it's in a book. We just don't want to actually see it.
Right.
Oh, thank goodness. So.
And very accurate reactions that she had, because I would have had all of the same reactions because I'm so scared of snakes. So.
Well, if one surprises you, it's different. Like if I see the cats coming at me and they got one hanging out of their mouth, that's a little different than if I'm walking in the woods and all of a sudden one moves. Because, I have 10 acres that I walk in, and a lot of it's wooded. And I've had snakes just suddenly move, and I hop pretty quickly. I don't want a snake going boo at me, kind of surprising. Yeah. So.
My husband's terrified of snakes, and he actually was on a walk and going through some brush, and he thought this is exactly where a snake would be. And sure enough, one jumped up and latched onto his cap, and he was freaking. Yeah, it was harmless, it turned out, but he didn't know, and he was all by himself. And he called me on the phone, had me walk him down the mountain in case he started having reaction.
No snake that jumps at you is harmless. Just the jumping in itself is terrifying enough.
Exactly.
I like to see them scurry in the other direction, not come jumping. at me.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Lori,
Well, we had
oh, go ahead, Diana. Sorry.
I was just going to say we had so much fun with this book, but I have to say that I loved the dog, Blue.
Yeah.
Like the reactions and the way, the dog would turn its head and, be kind of like part of the whole scene. And I know there's a story behind Blue's name. So can you tell us how you came up with Blue's name?
So, I've written so many books, so many. People ask me how many, and I don't even know anymore. Too many. And so whenever I need to come up with a new name or a new pet, I ask the readers on my Facebook page, and I'll scroll through the animals and then just look to see. They're all adorable, of course. I love all animals, but I look to see which one appeals to me, which kind of jumps out and says, I'll work in your book. And Blue was one that a reader offered up that worked in the book. And so I asked that reader different questions. I wish I could think of her name off the top of my head, but I can't. And she's the one that told me he's got this funny head tilt and he does this and does that. And so that was the name, and that was everything about the dog. And I had a German Shepherd growing up, Bingo, and I already knew how protective they could be, and how much they shed. So that sort of brought in a secondary character, that does the brushing for them. But so I love animals. I love including them. And I absolutely adore my readers on my Facebook page that will be so nice and contribute and help out when I have a question for a name. One time I asked in a different book, I asked for a name for a not nice lady. And I kind of described her, what she would look like, her age. And people were giving names, and I finally settled on the name Ruth. Well, the minute I did, a bunch of people said, my name's Ruth, and I'm nice. And my aunt's name is Ruth, and she's a lovely lady. Well, I didn't mean that the name itself was mean, just that it clicked for my character. So any readers that are ever offended by the names I choose, it's not meant to be offensive. It's just a name that I haven't used that clicks for the story.
And once it clicks, is it hard to switch? Is it hard to get that out of your head? Can you
It
just
is
replace it?
very much so. Yeah, very much so. And I'll suddenly realize sometimes that I've used the same name twice. And then it's like, oh, now what do I do? Especially if it's a last name, because then readers all think that they're related somehow. I'm like, no, I didn't. They don't even know each other. I just stumbled into that.
You just have so many characters over the years, you forget everybody's names probably.
I absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly.
Do you have a list somewhere or a Bible or whatever?
I have a list for the book I'm working on. And I have a list of names I don't think I've used that I can draw on sometimes if I need to. But again, I refer back to my readers. I say, anybody that's read me a lot, have I used this name before? And they're usually pretty helpful. So, but I don't have an actual Bible. Can you imagine trying to put that together now? Because it would not only have to include main characters, but all the secondary characters and the relatives and the babies that were born and all that, so it gets very complicated.
All the animal names.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I rely on my awesome readers who are the best.
How many books have you written now, Lori?
That's a difficult question. Well over 100. If you count novellas as well as big books, I'm thinking 150 or so. I don't know.
Yes, we count those. Of course we count those. That's still
I count them. I think they're all work. Sometimes a short book is more work for me than a big book because you get so much compressed in there. And then there will always be one reader that said, I like this, but I wish it was longer. I'm like, no, you don't. It's like it had to be. So.
Well, I'm in awe that you can come up with 150 meet cutes because that is amazing.
Well, they're not always meet cute, right? Like sometimes there's a guy with a chainsaw and it's
right. Well, so cute.
Sometimes they're like meet dangers.
She thought it was meet cute. He was just annoyed. So
well,
that was fantastic.
I loved the fact that things weren't always what you thought in this book, like especially with the brothers. I loved that you thought they were one way and then they end up being, they weren't perfect, but they weren't as bad. I don't want to give anything away, but anyway, I really loved that transition and how that all worked out in the story.
And I didn't really plan that. So I don't plan anything. It just sort of happens. But the two brothers that lived next door to them that were so troublesome, they were bad kids. But sometimes bad kids grow up and they realize they were bad kids and they try to do better. But then they've already got a reputation. I always try to see the best in everybody. I always want to think that people learn from their mistakes. I've learned from many of mine. Some I'm probably still repeating, because I'm so horribly flawed, as we all are. But I'm including all of you. We're all flawed.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's a case too where sometimes the flaws that one person has drives this person insane. They can't stand it. But this person over here is okay with it, and relates with it, and understands it. So sometimes you just have to find your person who brings out the best in you. And I think that Hallie did that for those two brothers.
Yeah. I like to see the good in everybody too, unless they're trying to kill me.
Yeah. Or throwing snakes or anything.
Then they're off. Yeah. Right.
Let's have a snake or they're a murderer.
So Robin says, oh my goodness, Getting Rowdy got me hooked on Laurie Foster books. I loved Rowdy.
Yeah, Rowdy was fun. Rowdy was one of those really, really wounded characters who you didn't know how he was ever going to settle down and how he was ever going to find his happy ever after. Every time Rowdy was in, he was a secondary character in several lead-up books. And every time he showed up, he practically took over. So especially when I was writing, so it was Run the Risk, Bear It All, Getting Rowdy, and then Dash of Peril. And I had planned to make Rowdy's book last, except that Rowdy almost took over and Run the Risk and then Bear It All. I kept saying, Rowdy, this isn't your book. You got to back off a little bit. He didn't want to. He was a very, very dominant force in everything. And it was the same thing with Army, who was in the Ultimate series. Sometimes those characters just, they take over. And, so I had planned him last. I was thinking, oh, everybody likes him. I'll save him for last. And he's like, no, you're not. I'm going third. So that's what happened. He was a third book.
Well,
and I totally get that. Some characters just draw your mental eye like Addie did in this book. Mm-hmm. I just found her so charming.
Wasn't she awesome? Doesn't everybody need an Addie?
Yes.
Such a good person. And she didn't know that she was such a good person until she saw Tanner walking down the road as a kid. Mm. And, before that, she hadn't realized how big her heart was. Yeah. I think sometimes we go through really, really difficult times and we don't know everything we have to give to the world until we're put in that situation. And she certainly came through and then just kept coming through. I just finished Glory's story. So it'll be the second book in the series.
Is it Glory and Cam? Is it Glory and Cam?
Do you really want me to tell you?
Oh,
yeah. Who screamed? Just Glory and Cam, yeah.
Okay, because I was like, oh my gosh, these two. The way Cam was treating her sometimes, like he was just.
I know.
I'm like, okay, they have to get together.
Well, and in this book, he kept going off to have those dates, or he would disappear. I wanted to know where he was and what was he doing and who was he doing it with.
All kinds of fun stuff to come out.
Yeah. Yay.
So Robin wants to know, ladies, how do you come up with the ideas for your books? And I'll ask Lori because this is your show, Lori.
Well, you can all go too. I think it's fascinating how each author has their own way of doing things. I was at a library function not too long ago and they were asking these questions and it was a panel of 4 of us and every one of us answered very, very differently. And I think that's such a good thing for any want-to-be authors, a writer who's working to realize you can go to any workshop you want to, and you can hear all the great advice on how to do things. But all you've really got to do is find the way that works for you. So you can listen to somebody tell you have to do all this plotting, or you have to have a great opening and then a big plot curve and then the dire moment and then you can listen to all that, but you have to find what works for you. And so what works for me is just to have like a kernel of an idea and to sit down and start writing and the characters tell me where I'm going. And if I end up at a spot where I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, I think I probably took a wrong turn and I go take a walk. I don't believe in torturing myself sitting at the computer. So I'll get up and take a walk, and generally what will happen is something will click and I'll think, oh yeah, you weren't listening to that character. You got to go back and fix that one little thing, and then it'll all be fine again. So that's my method, kind of haphazard. But what about you guys?
I think my method is a lot like your method. I'm a pantser, and I usually have, like you said, a kernel of an idea, and I just start and sort of see where it'll go.
And your books are so twisted and wild, and I love your stories. That's amazing. I love it.
You know, I write full time now, and I'm done with the bank, but I spent 26 years at working for Wells Fargo. And so many times I would be opening up an account and I would be like, oh, so how did you guys meet? Oh, tell me your love story. Oh, okay, hand me your driver's license. And oh, what a funny thing happened. Tell me more about that funny thing that happened to you.
Yeah.
And half the time I'm like, that is such a great idea for a book. Oh, I'm using that. I'm using that.
Inspiration comes from everywhere.
Yeah, inspiration comes from everywhere. Or something funny will happen and I'll just be like, oh, that's going in a book. I just know it.
Yeah.
Or things that I worry about happening. Like now that we have the puppy, I leave the back door open all the time. And I just stand there and think, what if I were in the kitchen and a squirrel ran in here? And wouldn't that be funny to have that in a book, that a squirrel runs into someone's house and the hero and the heroine have to get this squirrel out of their house? So sometimes it's my imagination wondering, what would happen if this funny or terrible or dumb thing happened?
I would worry about a deranged person running through the door more than a squirrel.
Or snake.
Oh, yeah, or snake.
Yeah, it's my backyard. It's fenced in. Hopefully there's nobody deranged out there.
Let's hope.
I tend to journal a lot, and I take long walks. So, and I keep a story journal in my purse. So I'll like sketch down ideas if I overhear people talking or hear something on the news. And then to work it out in my mind, I do a lot of handwriting and journaling and then walking. And same thing with if I get stuck, I'll get up out of my chair and I'll just go for a walk or go.
Movement stimulates the brain, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And you said that about the news. The news has so many great stories in it. You know, they always say truth is stranger than fiction. That is so true. You see things in the news that you think nobody would even believe that if I put that in a plot. But it can often give you a basis to go on.
True crime. I like a lot of true crime, and I think a little, because I watch so much and listen to so much, I think some of that percolates out somewhere. So, and the other one is a hot shower, because if I get stuck, sometimes I've already taken a shower, but I feel like I need one because years ago when I was still with Kensington the first time, I'm back there now, but back the first time, and Kate Duffy was my editor. I've never titled a book. I leave that to the editors. And Kate would say, I was stuck on this. And then right in the middle of a shower, it came to me, and she would give me the title. She was so much fun to work with. But yeah, showers worked a lot for her too. So what about you, Diane? How do you
well, you know, I do a lot of reading the news, and, you know, if I hear a scenario, I think, that's very interesting. I wonder if it would unfold this way or how it unfolded. But also, you know, someone can just say something. Like my daughter had an incident with her son where she was late to go to school, take him to daycare, but he wanted to stay with me. So she left him with me because he was crying. And then she called the school to tell him, you know, he's not coming in. They said, we don't have school today.
Oh.
So she called me up and she said, thank you, Leo, for breaking my heart. And I thought, thank you for breaking my heart is a great title for a book. And that is actually the next book I have coming out. So.
And I bet that had your brain going like crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I love that.
So, Renee wants to know, what is the strangest research any of you have done before writing a book?
You know, Jamie was just reissued. It was from my visitation series, again, back when I was with Kensington. And Jamie was a remote viewer. And I had no idea what a remote viewer was until I was writing Say No to Joe, and Jamie showed up. And he just sort of seemed to know things, and he was very mysterious. And it doesn't sound like it would be a romance, but it really was. And Jamie was one of those characters. He took over every time he was on the page. And I had no idea what he was doing or why he was doing it. But so I started researching why someone would know these things. And it was very clear. And back then we didn't even have these kind of computers where you could do it easily. I mean, I had to do the old fashioned research, and it was, he was a remote viewer, which was an experiment way back. I won't bore you with all the details, but it was experiments they did on people back in the military. And
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of taught them how to see things that weren't right in front of them. And that was Jamie. And so Jamie was very desperately trying to escape that life. But when he would see that someone needed help, he had to come down off his mountain and help. And then he got his happy ending in the book, Jamie. So that was some really odd, talk about things that would give you nightmares. That was it. Government interfering with your brain.
Yeah,
Yikes.
that was true. That was really true.
Mm-hmm. I bet you researched it too.
I have. So yes, it's true.
So you know what I'm talking about.
I can remember doing a scene in one of my horse rescue books with goat yoga and having these little baby goats like climbing all over you while you're doing yoga. And I was like, for some reason, I don't know why I needed to know this, but I needed to know how big baby goat poop was. And so that's like one of my, how do you describe baby goat poop? Like, that was a
What's the consistency?
From what I remember, it's like Cocoa Puffs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because my aunt had a goat. Yeah. Cocoa Puffs. I see, if you'd have just asked me, I could have told you.
I know. I should have next time if I have a poop size.
That's the only one I know about. If it's a
Oh.
horse or something, you're on your own.
Yeah, bears. I know a lot about bear scat, but
Yeah.
I just didn't know how big a baby goat poop was, and if like what happens in goat yoga if the goat actually poops on you, what you do.
I'm sure they do.
No, they do.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do. They have no respect. They got to go. They go.
See, in my town though, they put diapers on them, so that doesn't happen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they do. They put
Mm.
diapers on them.
Then I'm
Someone
thinking,
got
then
smart.
you just gotta hose them down afterward. Holy cow! We're way off track here with the goat poo.
I do not know.
One of you other ladies talk about the weird stuff you researched. No more goat poo from you, lady.
You never know what's going to come out of my mouth, do you, Lori?
Nothing as
That's too
exciting as
funny.
I did research how to make my own smoke grenade. Not
Ooh.
that interesting, but it was actually
pretty
very
cool,
interesting online because all of a sudden I was in a Reddit loop and all of a sudden like this private message popped up and said, "Why do you really need to know this?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Who's asking you this? Like, is
Oh
it like
my god!
shut the whole thing down?"
Because they
I've gotten
can
worried, too,
immediately
about
track
that.
you down,
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know where you live, they would narrow it down. You gotta be careful.
Yeah, so I got out of the Reddit loop. Reddit is a very interesting place for story ideas too. If anybody's looking for story ideas.
Exactly. It really is. So Robin wants to know, have any of you ladies ever been disappointed in any of your book covers? I love covers that draw my eyes to them. Then I read the blog.
Yeah, many of mine, especially the reissue covers, disappoint me. I know they want to give it what they call a fresh new look, but when the fresh new look is hideous compared to the original, I hate that. It's like, let's just stick with the original, or find another really attractive person like that. So I've had a great many that I absolutely love. I actually really loved this one. I thought this was very
I love it
nice.
too.
Love that
I
one.
love it too.
And I love my new one from Kensington, the Guest Cottage. I thought was fabulous. But yeah, there have been some, way back in the day, I would kind of, finagle to get one I liked better. And these days I'm so tired. I'm always just like, yeah, it'll work. I'm hoping readers will be forgiving that I'm not putting the extra effort into pressuring someone else. Because that's what I have to do. Since I'm not indie, I would have to talk with my editor, who would have to talk with the art department, and they're always so busy. And, I think the older I get, the more mellow I get, and the less I want to make waves. I just want to mosey along and do what I do,
I don't think all the readers understand that, like, when you're self-published, you can choose your own cover, but when you're traditionally published, you basically are tied to whatever they decide to put on it. And it can be disappointing. I personally have never been disappointed in any cover
I haven't either. I've loved all my covers.
Yeah, I have too, but I've been lucky because I know authors who've not been happy.
Well, and in a publisher's defense, they have an art department for a reason, right? So the art department knows the books that'll go over big with Walmart, because what Amazon will accept doesn't necessarily mean Walmart will. What Barnes and Noble will accept doesn't mean Amazon will. So they know more about that than I do, and they know what's trendy. Personally, I don't like to fit in with the trendy. I like to be something different, but I get what they're doing, and so I respect their ability and what it is that they're going for. And so if you're an art department person, don't be mad at me for saying I didn't love them all.
Just trying to get some of these comments on here so we can interact with the people that are watching us. Thank you all for being here. So Robin says, and let me be the one, oh my goodness, I was like, oh no, snakes. I hate snakes. She said she would have been worse than Callie in that situation. I think snakes for me, I'm okay, but like a big spider, no.
Oh, I don't like either. I thought, Lori, I think you did a really good job when I don't want to give too much away, but when she had the incident in the attic.
I know, that's what I was just thinking of. Holy cow.
I know, and she went down the stairs. My first thought was she was going to have to go to the hospital, but I thought it was so realistic how she had to recover, like how badly bruised you can be without having to go to the ER. But all of it. I mean, I think we've all had incidences where, like, even 3 days later, you're like, why am I still feeling so terrible?
Yeah.
And I thought that was like really realistic, because often you don't see that in books. They're like the next day they're off doing things with the hero that they probably wouldn't really be able to do.
So I have kids that were all in sports. So I know the difference between being hurt, in other words, needing the doctor, and just being hurt. And you just have to get over it and recover and work it out and ice it, So yeah. I can often ask my husband or one of the kids, what's something that would hurt really bad, but not require the hospital, but they're going to limp for 3 days, and they're going to have bruises galore, and they always have an answer for me. I remember when I tore my hammy, they'll come up with different answers. And so it's always very, very helpful for me. And I'm sure there's some girls that have done the same things in the sports they play, but I don't have girls. I've got boys. So that helps a lot to come up with stuff that injuries are realistic. I won't give away a future book, but I have a book where someone actually does get hurt and has to go to the hospital. And I relied on my sister because she had the exact same injuries, only worse. So I would say, well, how bad would it have hurt to have done this? And it would have killed her. I'm like, it's not going to kill her, but how bad? Oh, it was terrible. So, I'm able to ask her those questions. So plus I asked Grok, Grok on X is very, very helpful.
I have to check out this Grok.
I know.
I never even heard of that until today.
I want to know about Dirk and Lang. Are they going to get stories?
So I don't know. I don't really know right now. So I finished up the rest of the books on my contract. So I have 3 books out next year. And now I'm sort of just waiting to see what's going to happen. So I had, actually, I'll just tell you, I had The Guest Cottage, and then the next book will be The Lake House. That's out in May of 26. And I wrote The Two of Us, which was an anthology, part of 4 different friends. That was the 3rd book. The 4th one for that will be out in March of 2026. So that's Love Comes in Small Packages. And then I just turned in the 2nd book for this one, which will be out April or May. I can't remember what she told me, of 2026. So I've got 3 lined up for 2026. I just got the last one turned in. So I'm waiting to see what I'm going to do. We'll see, ladies.
Fantastic.
I had, what was it, 6 books I'd signed for, which I love doing that. I like knowing I'm employed, but man, oh man, that was a job getting those done. I always know when I've got stuff on my plate. Mm-hmm. And so I felt those on my plate. When I was younger, I would get stacked up by 12 and it wouldn't bother me. But the older I get and the more I have to cough into my elbow, I think I'm old and I'm tired and getting grouchy in my old age. So it's nice that I've got a little bit of downtime right now. So we'll see.
So do you write every day or?
I do. Yeah. So I'm actually writing now. I just not really sure what's going to happen with it. So yeah, I think my brain would go haywire it's like you get your coffee, you check your social media, you answer your emails, and then you write some, so I keep myself busy.
Yeah, social media has really changed the author business, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. And I love talking with readers, and I love visiting on social media and seeing different things. But, I can get on Facebook or X or even Instagram and go down that wormhole of looking at things I don't need to be looking at. And I'll see something where some woman's getting arrested, and I finished that video and it's not ended. I think, oh, it's one of 3. So then I got to watch the second one and the third one to see what happens to this woman that needed to be arrested, and you know what I mean? Today, I just saw some guy get his head run over while trying to repo a car. I'm like, see, this is why I shouldn't be watching this stuff. I get lost.
Hopefully he survived.
No, he was cussing. Yeah, he was okay.
Oh, whew, okay.
Yeah. Trying to repo that car, and the guy jumped in the car and took off and ran over his head.
Oh my gosh.
See, there's a story idea for you. I didn't know you could survive that, but he did.
No.
I saw it in a video.
Oh my God. That is crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh
my God.
Too many crazy things to see online, and it can be very, very distracting. Plus, I feel like I try to keep my social media active. And sometimes I'm just like, oh, I need to post something. I haven't posted anything for 4 hours. What am I going to post? Well, I don't know what to post. Go out and find a picture of a snail. It's like, I'm tired. Do you know what I mean? Do you feel like a responsibility to your social media? It's almost like another job.
it is.
Absolutely.
Well,
I feel like I'm way more lazy than you.
Yeah, but I come up with the idea of what I'm going to post, and then I don't get to it. And then I wake up in the middle of the night, do a little self-loathing, like, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you get that posted today? And then it's like I try to make the post just so perfect in my head that then I don't post it. And then I'm like 3 weeks out, and I'm like, well, do I still post this thing that happened 3 weeks ago, or do I not? I spend so much time in indecision and like can't make a decision and can't decide what to do, that if I would have just posted it, like, it's so dumb. It is the dumbest circle of, and then I just post stuff. I'm late posting this, but 2 months ago I went to and
your readers love to see how real you are. So you could easily say, I was going to post this 2 weeks ago and I didn't. And then I had self-loathing. And then I decided I am going to share it. Has anybody else ever done that? And they would love it.
That's true.
I mean, it is. Readers love to be able to relate to you,
Yeah.
And it's not just the posting, it's now where to post it. Do you just post it on Facebook or Meta? Do you Threads or Blues? All these different things. It's just so hard. And readers don't necessarily, what I've found is that there are readers on all of them, but they're not necessarily cross platforms.
Right. Yeah. I try to make it slightly different. Facebook and Instagram is usually the same post. I try to do something a little different on Instagram every so often, and X is much different stuff. And, I don't do Blue Sky or the Threads or any of that stuff. Again, because I'm old and I'm tired and I'm cranky and it's new stuff to learn and I don't want to. So I just skip all that, stick with what I kind of sort of know. I have that amazing assistant, Rachel. And so when I don't know how to post something, I'll say, Rachel, would you want to post this? Or, like the publisher wants me to put this on stories. I've never posted a story in my life. I have no idea how to do that. And Rachel's like, sure, what time you want it up? So she'll take care of that part for me, if it's a promo thing. So she'll take care of that. Or when I have a giveaway that's ending at 10 o'clock at night, I'm not picking a giveaway at 10 o'clock at night. That's Rachel, because I'm shot by 10 o'clock at night.
Rachel is amazing. Let me just give a moment to shout out. She is.
Oh, yeah.
She's the best.
She's got the patience of a saint because she dealt with me with a problem.
And she's so sweet too. And she never has a bad word to say about anybody. She's just a very, very pleasant person. I like her a lot.
So Suzanne says, I loved your bonus story with Army and Marissa. Will you put out more bonus content? I'd love an update.
On Rowdy or Lise. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be fun to do in my downtime here. Not that I have a ton of downtime. I had promised myself when I finished that book, I was going to reorganize my office because I had so many new books in 24 and 25, and then a bunch of reissues on top of it. I've just got books stacked everywhere. So I need to go through my office and sort of organize a little bit. Excuse me for coughing again. But yeah, I would love to do an update. That's a great idea. See how awesome readers are? So yeah, who suggested that? I don't have to remember.
That was Suzanne Winslow. Suzanne Winslow.
Thank you, Suzanne Winslow. Yeah, so the one I did on Army was loads of fun. My problem is it's been so long since I wrote them, I forget what they did, and I have to remember if they had a kid or anything, or if anybody else had a kid. So yeah, that might be fun to do, a short thing. Great idea.
Yeah, that does sound like fun. And Robin has an idea too. She said, I do wish more romance books in the 60s age groups were out there. I'm in that age group, so maybe Addie needs a love interest.
If I did, it would be very much a very sweet closed door. I don't even want to see her kissing anybody. I just want Addie's a very sweet older woman, and
she can hold hands with somebody, a little old man.
We can assume she did when she closes that door, I'm not going to describe it.
Don't you think it's funny how age has changed though as we've gotten older? Like I read this story about this guy who's like practically decrepit. They're describing him as practically decrepit. He's got a cane and he was like in his 60s. And I was like, dude, do you know anyone in your 60s? Like the older we get and the closer we get to some of these ages, like when you said Addie was in her 70s, I was like, oh yeah, she's getting around pretty good. Yeah, she's probably pretty still sprung. Which
I had written that.
That
where I go back and look at old books and I'm thinking, oh dear God, this person was only 62. And I have this person like they're 85, but I was much younger when I wrote it. And my mother was the type, she smoked heavily. So she passed away in her 60s, but her 60s were not everybody else's 60s. Yeah. But I think that's what in my mind, that's where my head went, was my mother's 60s. And she was very old at 60, so no excuses, so it's you see things differently. Times change.
As we get closer, our 50s don't really we don't seem that old anymore.
I'm pushing up there towards 70. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting up there. So,
Well, and the Golden Girls, when they did the Golden Girls in those shows, those women were all in their 40s.
Oh, jeez.
What? No way.
Oh my gosh.
It's a hoot.
Research the Golden Girls and you look at what age when that started, they were in their late 40s.
Oh, we are aging differently than we did before. Like totally differently than we did before.
I'm aging in dog years now, so every year is like 5. I look in the mirror and I think, damn, a decade went by. How'd that happen? But
Lori,
up on you.
Besides reader author get together, are you doing any other book signings? Are you going any other book conventions or anything like that? Or you not do that as much anymore?
No, I don't do it as much anymore. I went to the library thing that was Columbus, maybe. I can't remember exactly. It was really, really nice. So if there's something close by that I can drive to, I don't want to fly anywhere. I've been asked multiple times and it's so nice. I love that people think of me. I love that people want to see me. I don't know why anybody wants to see me, but it's nice that they do. But the idea of getting on a plane at this point, if I can drive it, and I did a library thing actually down in Sevierville in Tennessee because we were going to Pigeon Forge then anyway. So we were already down that way and that was fun. I met a lot of different authors and the librarian was awesome. So I hate to sound terrible, but if it's really convenient for me, doesn't that sound awful? If it's really convenient for me, I do it. I feel like when I was younger, I was constantly flying somewhere and it's not just a matter of flying there. This is about as dressed up as I get. You guys will see me at the RAGT. I will be the scruffiest, least dressed up person there. That's one reason why I wanted to have it. So there was no reason why I would ever have to dress up. I don't like dressing up. I don't like putting on anything other than my tennis shoes or flip flops. And I don't like that that's not me, so, I feel like I did plenty of that when I was younger, flying there and packing nice clothes and my conference clothes, trying to look like a professional when I never really feel like a professional. So I just feel like me, sloppy me, who'd rather be walking in the woods. So
As you get older, do you find that in not just in going places and doing these outrageous things, but do you find that you might be writing a book and think, no, this idea is not what I wanted it to be, and just kind of like tone it down, or decide against it
And writing a book?
in writing a book? Yeah.
I have never stopped writing a book that I started. So
Wow.
I'm thinking if I start it, I'm committed.
Wow.
It might change a little,
Mhm.
I might think, well, I didn't really start that in the right place. Let me back up a day, or let me jump ahead 2 days. But I've never given up on a book. Isn't that ridiculous? Why have I
I
never?
think that is fantastic.
No,
I think that is great.
I'm the same way, Lori. I have never, anything I've started, I've always finished. Like,
Yeah, you commit to it.
yeah, it's like it's an idea, it's there, and it's like I can't move on until it's out.
I feel like if I spent an hour on it, by God, I'm in this. we got to see this to the bitter end. Yeah.
Hey, Lori, who are you reading right now? What books are you reading?
So I just finished TJ Logan. What was the name? Oh, it's her newest one. I can't think of the name of the book, but it was wonderful. She has a huge cast of characters that were part of a family, the O'Hallorans. And then she branched off of that and have these, it's kind of like a dark ops. I think that's what she calls it, the dark ops. And so I was reading that and just finished it up. And I haven't actually picked up a new book yet. But and I'm waiting for Vivian LeRae has one that'll be coming out soon. I think I read the two of them the most often now. I keep waiting for Miss Abbie Roads to have another one out, and she doesn't have one out yet.
I could send you one that's not published.
Yes. I like to actually have it in book form, just in case.
Lori, do you have any advice that you would give to aspiring writers right now? I mean, things have changed so much in the last couple of years.
They have changed so much, and what I know doesn't really apply to newer authors. I think expectations are different now. So I think what's her name? The gal that just, I hate when I draw blanks. She's an amazing author, and her books are being made into movies right now. What is her name? Alan, what's her
Colleen
name?
Hoover.
Colleen Hoover, thank you. Yes. She's once in a lifetime. I don't think that happens very often. Same thing with J.R. Ward. They're turning her Dagger Brotherhood books into movies, passion flicks, I think.
Wait, I know. I'm very excited.
That looks really awesome. It looks great. I think a lot of newer authors see those things and they think, oh, that'll be me. And that's just really not how it works these days. I think what newer authors make is much, much lower than what my starting pay was. And I think the distribution is much, much less, because back when I first got published, there were bookstores everywhere. You couldn't turn the block without there being a bookstore. And now there's just not. There's a few scattered Barnes and Nobles here and there. And the book sections in Walmarts and Myers keep shrinking and shrinking and getting smaller and smaller. And it used to be every drugstore and grocery store had a big book section, and they're just not there anymore. Amazon has sort of taken over to where everybody's getting their books from there. So the expectations, I think, have changed a lot. So, again, I'm on X and I see so many indie authors. They're thrilled when they sell a book. Have a reader buy one book. They've got a book out there and they're like, I made a sale today. And they're really excited about it. And so it's just a very, very different world than, even this one made the New York Times. And I was surprised because the numbers for it to make the New York Times now were a drop in the bucket for what it took back when I first started publishing. I'm looking at it with my husband and I'm going, this wouldn't have gotten you anywhere back then, but the whole reality has changed so much. So I think that it has to be, if you see someone like Colleen Hoover, who I've never read her and I don't know her at all, but I think her posts are absolutely hilarious. And I bet she's a hoot to hang out with. She seems like a really, really genuine, funny, awesome person.
Speaking of your husband, I'm sorry to interrupt. Someone had said, I wish my husband would cook dinner like Lori's husband does. She's always sewing such good dishes. I just thought that was so funny.
He's always trying to keep me fed. He's always pushing food at me. when he gets home from the gym, he'll say, "What do you feel like for dinner?" I say, "I don't really feel like anything." And then he'll sort of surprise me with something. Or if at some point I text him and say, "Doesn't fried chicken sound good today?" He'll make it happen. So it's just he's a really, really good cook. And he's very good to me.
Oh, that's awesome. So Robin also asks, which book would you like to see turned into a movie?
Any of them. Any one would be great. My newest one, this one, The Guest Cottage, I think probably would be more adaptable to a movie, just because it's more on point with what's popular these days. So many of the books I wrote, it was the strong alpha hero, and I don't think that's as movie worthy these days. Do you know what I'm saying? I kind of think they veer more towards the woman's strength, which I think I wrote strong women. I don't think a woman could hook up with some of the guys I wrote if she wasn't a strong woman. She had to keep him in line, but it wasn't always my focus. I really like writing strong, alpha, heroic, kind. I was going to say, people tend to think when you say alpha that he's a jerk, and I don't write jerk. I write really strong, caring men who want to protect everyone, whether they need protection or not. If there was a kid, they would never be mean to a kid. They would never be mean to an animal, and they would kick the butt of anybody who was. So I really like writing those, but I don't know that those would be as adaptable to movies.
Maybe Passion Flicks. I could see a Passion Flicks series.
Yeah, maybe.
Tosca's doing a great job with all different kinds of romance novels, and she's so committed to being careful, and devoted to the book. To
the writer's voice and the vision and what the readers want. Yeah, she seems amazing too. That's the other thing with social media. You feel like you can get to know these people, right?
Yeah.
So I love following her. I think she's amazing.
Yeah, I could totally see any of your books being in the Passion Flicks library.
You're very kind. You could be my new best friend.
We'll all be your best friend, Lori.
Thank you.
Speaking of which, we're so excited to come and see you in a few weeks.
It's going to be great.
That it is almost here. So we're going to be at Lori's Reader Author Get Together. And I guess I would ask a little bit about that, Lori. So one thing, is it full, or can people still sign up for it? And two, how are you feeling about this being your last year?
So it'll be my last year, but Jane Porter's taking over. So the event will go on, thank goodness. Which I'm so thrilled about, because, again, I don't have the energy anymore to run it the way I do. And we have all the books shipped to us. And then my husband and my brother-in-law pack them up and take them there. It's a lot of work on them too. And none of us are spring chickens anymore. I know being almost 67 isn't old, but it feels old sometimes when you're running nonstop. So, and like I said, I have some lung issues that slow me down, which is why I kept coughing. But so it just seemed like time to pull back a little bit. And I was so grateful that Jane did it. I feel so committed to the money we give to the animal shelter, the money we give to cancer-free kids for gentler treatments for kids with cancer. And I hated to see all that come to an end. So when Jane said she would take it over, it's like I could have kissed her feet. I was just thrilled. My assistant's going to help her out, because Rachel knows how the event runs now. She could practically run it on her own. So I'm looking forward to being there this year and touting Jane. And then I'm looking forward to attending in 2026 and just being an attendee. If anybody comes to me with a question, I'm going to say, I don't know. You got to go to Jane. But as it is now, a lot of times I send them to the volunteers, because the volunteers do such an amazing job. Sabre Harp, who has, she's kind of just become a volunteer extraordinaire, jack of all trades when it comes to it. She, a lot of times, has more answers than I do, because she coordinates with the different volunteers. But our raffle volunteer, Chrissy Conley, handles the raffle. If somebody says, what time's the next raffle? I'll say, ask Christy. Because unless I have a schedule in front of me, I don't know. But each volunteer remembers their individual stuff. So
how many years have you done this, Lori?
Alan, when did we start the event?
Do what?
When did we start the event?
2005.
2005.
Wow.
I knew it. I'm not a numbers person. You can never ask me numbers. But I knew it had been a while.
We've had 20. This will be the 20th one we've had because we missed one because of COVID.
He said we missed one because
Wow.
of COVID. So
Wow.
yeah. So it's been quite a few years.
Well, we can't wait to see you. We are
Can't
also
wait.
excited. And I am packing conference clothes and getting on a plane to come to you, Lori.
Oh my gosh. See, and I won't be in conference clothes. Whatever I have on, I'll be in jeans and literally gym shoes or flip-flops and some sort of a t-shirt. I have a long sleeve t-shirt my son got me that says, it shows this goose holding a knife and it says, "You've sillied your last goose." You know, like the silly goose, but
Yeah, that's
that's-
adorable.
yeah. So that's the sort of stuff I'll be wearing, and I'll just be comfortable.
That's
So if any of you want to be sloppy, feel free. We can be sloppy together.
I may sloppy with you.
Yeah.
I'm sort of over the conference clothes myself. So
Oh man, I never was any good at it. And you know, we would go to parties at RWA events and stuff, and I don't dance, I don't drink. You know, so it's like this wallflower from a historical romance standing against the wall, thinking, when will this end? So I like it much better. Those were amazing, and the publishers would do those, and those were awesome. But it was much nicer when I can just go park my butt in a table and say hi to readers as stuff is going on around me, and I don't have to feel like I got to do any of that. You had asked, we've had to turn in our food numbers, but if like 1 or 2 people wanted to come, I'm sure we'll have a cancellation and we would be able to fit someone in. There's usually a couple of cancellations between now and that day. We just can't refund people after a certain point because once the food numbers are turned in, I got to pay for it whether you eat or not, you know, so.
Mhm.
Well, it's 3 weeks away.
Yeah, it's close. I know.
Yeah.
TJ Logan the other day told me, she goes, I can't believe in 2 weeks we're going to be heading to Ohio. And I'm thinking, 2 weeks? I was like in a panic. And I looked, I'm like, oh, she drives. So I guess she gives herself plenty of time to get here. But I was like, holy cow, don't scare me like that. I haven't even had my last meeting yet with the hotel. I got to do that yet. So.
Oh, wow. Well, we're looking forward to it. Both Abby and I are driving, so we will, you know, Jenny's flying.
Oh,
So
man.
I'm just shipping all my stuff to Abby and Diana, and then they're bringing it in their cars.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. And see, if you guys had been there last year, you would have been there for our fire. We had that exciting fire that
Oh, I heard about that.
I've seen the photos.
Yeah.
it was,
I've heard about the firefighters.
everybody heard about the firefighters. And me being a mother of moms, the mother of sons, the first thing my husband's laughing at me.
Mother of Dragons.
The mother of dragons. Mother of sons, mother of dragons, kind of the same thing. My first thought was if that had been reversed. Can you imagine if it had been an all male? My attendees were awesome. They were conference. Female firefighters had showed up, and the men were all taking photos. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? But the men were great about it. The women, the attendees were great too. Nobody got out of line. They were all really awesome. But you're singing or something. I don't know what you're doing back there.
Sorry.
Then my husband starts singing. He's got headphones on. He doesn't realize he's singing. And I can't have that background noise. I'll totally lose my train of thought. But the firefighters were amazing. All the attendees were great. And there was a rumor going around that we were shutting the event down because of it. So then I'm like, no, we're the happy place, damn it. We're going to carry on. We're carrying on regardless. And we made it work. And people who had been in boardrooms had to get moved out into hallways because some of the rooms flooded. You know, it was up on an upper floor. And when the sprinklers went off, it came down through all those floors. And I cannot tell you how awesome this community of readers and writers are because they just rallied. They're like, we're fine. We'll do all right in the hallway. So they didn't have the space they thought they'd have. Some of their stuff got ruined and everybody just carried on and had a great time anyway. Is that not, that's the community we're a part of.
And the hotel, obviously the hotel was supportive. They didn't throw you out and shut down.
No, they were great. The hotel manager looked more panicked than I was. And this is my panicked face. I mean, I'm like thinking, how are we going to sort this out? I wasn't like screaming or crying or anything, but I was walking around a little dazed thinking, how bad is this going to get? You know, and we were all standing outside. Thank goodness it wasn't raining. We were outside for a couple of hours and waiting to hear the damage. Some of the authors were trying to peek through windows to see if their stuff was still in there. And the firefighters were in there covering things. They had big tarps and they were covering up tables of books, to protect them. That's how amazing they were. The firefighters were amazing. The attendees were amazing. And the authors were just out of this world nice about the whole thing. So that's why we love this community so much. It's just a bunch of really, really good people.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. The readers and the authors are just the best. And, I feel like we've had such tremendous experiences, just knowing Sharon and Jennie and Abbie, and, knowing you virtually has just been, the best experience of my life, and all the readers that, write and are part of this community. It's fantastic.
It is. It wouldn't be much fun to write if we didn't have readers.
That's for sure. Yeah.
We were just all here talking about our books with each other. We didn't have any readers that enjoyed them and get back with us.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Lori. We really appreciate it. We appreciate the time. We appreciate your work that you do, because you bring joy to our lives. And,
Thank you.
we can't thank you enough.
Yep. Well, I appreciate it very much. And I thank you guys for having me on again. This is always such a fun chat to have.
We always have a ball.
Great.
All right. Thanks, Lori. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, talented ladies. I appreciate it. Bye.
I love Lori.
I know, she's the best.
The hour always
She's the
goes
best.
so fast with her.
I know. It's so true.
But
But now we have to look forward to our June book. Can you believe it's June?
I can't believe it's June. I have it right here. Are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
So in June, we're doing our very own beloved Jennie Marts Lost and Found Cowboy and the Lightning Star.
Oh, I love it. And just the cutest cover
that's
ever. So cute.
I love the cover.
All right, Jennie's in the hot seat at the end of next month, so we're looking forward to it. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.